Antonio Brown, Lord have mercy. He retired as a Raider. He went there, and then he froze his feet. He caused all this controversy to try to get traded. He badmouthed the coach. He badmouthed the quarterback. He badmouthed the general manager. Never played it down and then got cut. If you just stick to the football field, he's a Steeler legend. That 6-year stretch that he had is literally unmatched. If you had Antonio Brown on your fantasy league team, he led you to fantasy league football victories. Him by himself. Does he deserve to have his number retired? Absolutely not. You can't be bad-mouthing your quarterback like that. He burned every bridge that Pittsburgh has. And there's a whole bunch of bridges in Pittsburgh. But is he still a Steeler legend based on what he did on the field? 100% absolutely.
Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
Did 2 rounds back. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What's happening? Thank you guys for joining. This is Big B. Welcome back to Big B Daily. This is your man, Brian Hanley. We are live again, as always, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. We appreciate everybody being here. What is going on, man? Got a lot to cover. NBA Finals finally kicked off. Kristaps Porzingis, Lord have mercy, just came back with a vengeance last night. Was on an emotional high, 20 points, 8 boards, 3 blocks, was a havoc on both ends. Dallas literally had no answer for him. The Celtics blow out the Mavericks in game 1. We'll talk about that. Dan Hurley. It looks like the Lakers are trying to zero in on Dan Hurley. We'll talk about what it might look like as far as what the Lakers are doing, what they're thinking, how his dynamic with LeBron might look, and if he's actually going to leave UCONN. So we'll say that. And then lastly, we're going to get into Adam Silver talking about NBA expansion. So that's literally what he said the NBA's first order of business is. So let's figure out what's going on. I appreciate everybody. There's already nonsense going on. Somebody saying, didn't you say the Celtics weren't going to make it? No, I did not. So, I mean, we're already starting off with the crazies this morning. Lord have mercy. But it is what it is. Everybody, thank you guys for joining up. If you like the show, want to help support the show, and you like what we're doing, please don't hesitate to do so. You can always like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. But if you do want to help in a different way, you can always try to control the conversation and actually control it with a super chat. Your question or comment always gets put right to the front of the line, as well as tips, all that good stuff. So we appreciate everybody being in here today. Let's get to the show. All right. First things first. The unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, dominates game 1. I mean, first of all, he comes out to fanfare, just walked out on the court like he was a celebrity. Fans loved it before, during warm-ups. He comes out, and then he puts on a show. That first quarter, he put on a show. He got hot. 16 of his 20 points came in the first half. He did his thing. 3 blocks in the first quarter, including a block breakaway dunk attempt. He was everywhere, blocking jump shots. He literally was everywhere. Gave Boston a huge boost as they got out to a gigantic. They were up at one point by 29 points. And I turned to the station. I'm like, this game is over. And then a buddy of mine said, hey, man, click back. It's at 22. And I'm like, all right, it's at 22. 3 minutes later, it was at 8. And I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe the Mavs are going to show up a little bit. It said 8 points. But then Boston went on they went on a 14-0 run, and then that was the end of the game. But give credit to Porzingis. Give credit to, look, they're going to say it's Joe Mazzulla, but unfortunately, he did not come up with the game plan. It was Brad Stevens that actually came up with the defensive game plan. They decided with all those pick and rolls, they put Jason Tatum on a big guy because the big guy they're not throwing the ball to him in the post. They tried to do it on the first possession of the game. He turned it over. Dallas never went back to that. So they put Jason Tatum on a big guy. All the pick and roll stuff, they were able to just switch it with Luka and Kyrie. It didn't help because then Tatum was the defender. Great defensive game plan. So all I know is the bottom line is it was an outstanding defensive strategy. Unfortunately, like I said, Joe Mazzulla didn't come up with that. It was Brad Stevens, but it doesn't matter. They had to execute it, and Boston did. Give them credit. Give them credit. And there's going to be some adjustments, but if last night was any indication, that shows you the difference between Boston and Dallas, the talent level. Boston is just that much better than Dallas. And when Dallas is not making any shots, what were they, 5 for 23 from three-point range? That's not going to get it done. The thing that's even more troubling is Dallas was 4 for 14 in open three-point attempts. So when they were open, they were just 4 for 14. 5 for 23 overall. That's not going to get it done, people. That's not going to get it done. Not to mention Luka made 4 of the threes. So there's got to be something else that's going on. People are saying Boston is sweeping. They might. I don't think they will because we know what. A matter of fact, I'm already predicting that Dallas is going to win game 2. Dallas is going to win game 2. Why? Because they're not going to miss this many shots again in the second game. That's not going to happen. And we all know, and we've seen it throughout these playoffs, Dallas will give you a game. Or not Dallas, Boston will give you a game. They'll give you a game at home. That's what they do. They will give you a game at home. And whether it's game 1, which was the Pacers game, where the Pacers just said, nah, I'm sorry, Boston, we don't want game 1. You can have it back. Or game 2 in the 2 previous series against Cleveland and against Miami. They gave away game 2. They're going to give away game 2 here too. That's just who they are. Doesn't mean they're not going to win the series because I believe they are, but give them game 2. That's going to happen. And again, Dallas is going to shoot much better in game 2. That's going to happen. People are getting online and chat rooms everywhere with their nerd analytics and Dallas can't shoot the ball. They're not. Have you been watching basketball since March, the NBA since March? Dallas has been red hot from three-point range, and especially in the playoffs. They've been making shots. They didn't make them last night, and that's why they got their head beaten in. Oh, by the way, Boston did make them. They did make them. So, and I just don't know. I don't know. So, we'll see exactly what happens. But looking at it from my perspective and my point of view, I think Boston gives up game 2, but I think they win the series. Even having said that, it's going to be tough. Like I said, last night, yeah, Boston smacked them around. They smacked around Dallas. They smacked them around. Now, what adjustments can be made by Dallas? I don't know. You can't take out the big guy, or what you can do is they had him guarding a non-shooter in Jones. Jones is going to have to make some shots. Jones from Dallas is going to have to make some shots. If he's not making shots, then it's a problem. So if he's making them, we'll see. But yeah, Porzingis is definitely a game changer. So, but the one thing that I will caution people, that first game back adrenaline boost, Porzingis had that. He got that. He had been out for a while. Y'all know how that works. You've been out for a while. You come back, the adrenaline's pumping. You get a couple of shots to go early, and then it just steamrolls from there. That's what happened. That's what happened. Porzingis got it going. He got it going. And I would suspect that game 2, all that adrenaline will wear off, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I also expect Dallas to shoot the basketball better. That's what I suspect. You know, people keep talking, the Celtics they're great against the three-point shot this year. Okay, that doesn't – I mean, it's not like Dallas didn't get open looks. They just missed them. They haven't been missing them since March. They had a bad shooting night. It happens. It happens. So we'll see what's up. We will see what's up. But a good night by Porzingis last night. Jason Tatum didn't have to do a lot. He didn't have to do a lot. He scored 16 points. He played good defense. But he didn't have to have that, monster Jason Tatum game. Jaylen Brown played well. I mean, the Celtics were a machine last night. They were a machine. But, yeah, Jason Tatum didn't have to do a whole lot of work last night. And that's okay. Again, they blew him out. They blew him out. So, but I caution people that think that the series is already over. If Dallas makes shots in game 2, which I suspect they will, or Luka or Kyrie goes berserk, I mean, it isn't going to matter what Boston does. So we'll see. We will see. But I like the fire that Boston came out with last night. It almost looked like Dallas was nervous the first half. It looked like they were super nervous, wasn't playing up to their potential. So, didn't play up to their potential. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. I thought Boston, they came out like they had been there before and understood the job at hand. I think Dallas came out super nervous first quarter with a bunch of guys that hadn't been there. The only guy that had is Kyrie. And Kyrie played bad last night. So when your only experienced guy in these situations plays bad, it's a problem. It's a problem. Hey, by the way, looking right at this specific platform, if you don't want to get cut off or frozen up, which is going to happen here in the next 2 minutes, I would suspect, click on the live link that's in my bio, and then you can come over to a platform that won't lock you up. So make sure you do that because, like I said, give it 2 minutes and you're going to be frozen up. So if you don't want that to happen, make sure that you click on the live link that's in my bio and come on over. We appreciate it, man. So it should scare Dallas that Tatum didn't do a lot. Should it scare Boston that Luka and Kyrie didn't do a lot? Or no? So you can say that about a lot of people. Like I said, Porzingis came back, had a great game. Boston made a ton of shots, and Dallas didn't make any. So Boston has the size length compared to Dallas. Boston knows what to do and has been there before. Very, very true. Very, very true. Boston has definitely been there before, and they acted like it last night. They acted like it. Game 2, I just think will be different. The nerves won't be there for Dallas any longer. They'll understand, okay, this is the NBA Finals. We understand the level of competition that we have to bring to the table. And I think they're going to play a lot better basketball. But we'll see. We'll see. Boston in 5, says Russ. Or Ross. Yeah, I don't know. It could be. But I think it's Boston in 6. But we'll see. Boston is definitely the better team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Boston is better than Dallas. They're better. But we'll see what happens. We will definitely see what happens. But good game by Porzingis last night. we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, mm, mm, mm. Let's move on. So the Lakers, always in the news, can't get them out of the news. Lord have mercy. But the Lakers are looking to hire Dan Hurley. Man. Now, it's not official. He's going there to meet with them today with the Lakers brass. What do y'all think about it? Y'all think that Dan Hurley's a good fit? Number one, do you think he's a good fit? Let's start there. Is Dan Hurley a good fit with the Lakers? You know what that consists of. You got to deal with egos. You got to deal with LeBron, AD. You got to deal with the role players. Are they getting enough touches? Is everybody happy? Well, the first thing about Dan Hurley that he's going to command respect because he knows basketball. And getting the respect of LeBron and Anthony Davis if you know basketball. Well, he knows basketball. So that's the first thing. So he's going to command that kind of respect. So that's number one. So it's a good fit there. Now, I heard Gilbert Arenas. Now, look, Gilbert Arenas says a lot of crazy stuff, but he's right in this case. Coaching college, you're coaching a team. When you coach in the NBA, you're coaching individuals. How do you make that work? And basically, in the NBA, you're getting individuals to buy into a team atmosphere to be able to win. In college, there's still the rah-rah that's part of it. So there's still that. But in the NBA, you're trying to comb and collectively get, a certain number of individuals to buy in to the team and see if they can compete as a team. So will he be able to do that? Again, he's got the cachet. The first step is, do you know basketball? Well, he knows basketball. He's going to be able to put a system in place. Now, is everybody going to buy into that? No, but everybody doesn't have to buy into it. If you can get LeBron and AD to buy into it, you've won your battle. Because if they're going to buy in, you need to buy in. So that's the first thing. My man, Pat Cochran, said, if I were Dan Hurley, I'd stay at UConn. He's got something extremely special. And that's a good way to look at it. Because that's what I look at it. I'd stay. I'm already successful. But just because you're already successful doesn't mean there's not more success out there. And there's also more money. Let's not kid ourselves. Now, I don't think Dan Hurley, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday because the news broke yesterday, is I don't think Dan Hurley's going to leave if the Lakers say, okay, we'll give you a 5-year deal, even if it's at $12 million a year. He's not leaving for 5 years because I believe he's going to say, well, I know how you guys change coaches. You change coaches like you change underwear. 5 years, no, I'm not leaving what I've got for a 5-year deal. Make it 10, then we'll have that's where the conversation needs to start. If I'm Dan Hurley, I got a 10-year contract, no less than $10 million a year. That would be my first thing. Then we'll go from there. And then we can decide what we're going to do from there. But that would be my first thought is $10 million for 10 years. Because LeBron isn't going to play another 10 years. And you need to have your system in place after he retires. The next thing that I would want if I'm Dan Hurley, I need final say-so on the roster. Yeah, I see what you've put together, but I need final say-so. That's what I would do. I'm not coming off of that either. Because right now I have the final say-so on the roster that comes to UConn. I need the same thing with the Lakers. I understand Rob Pelinka is the general manager or vice president of basketball, whatever the hell his title is. That's fine. He can still stay in that title, and he can help me. But when it comes to final roster and who we want and who we can go get, that's me. That's me. And That would be the second thing. The contract, the length of the contract, and then basketball operations. I need to be in control of that. If I'm not going to be in control of that, then I'm not coming. So you guys got to make that decision. I like that for Dan Hurley. If he can get those two things, then I think he leaves. I think he leaves. Again, you're guaranteeing yourself $100 million. So you get $100 million to go coach the Lakers and see what you can do. So, here's a good comment. I think JJ will get the job because I don't see Jeannie and Rob relinquishing power. And you might be right. You might be right. And if that's the case, they would be making a horrible decision because Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss don't need to be in power. That's part of the problem. They don't need to be in power, but they are. But yeah, if I'm Dan Hurley, I don't let that go. And JJ Redick will take the job, and he's not going to want any of that power because he's just happy to be a head coach. How JJ Redick is even in this conversation is beyond me. I understand he's a smart guy, a smart basketball guy. He played a long time. I get that. But what are we doing? I mean, let me just ask you guys this question. And I'll bring it up because I have no problems talking about it. Remember when black head coaches or black coaches were being passed over, and it still happens to this day for guys with no experience or less experience, hadn't put in the work, and they were getting passed over for job after job after job. Well, what about these assistant coaches, black or white? Shouldn't they feel the same way? What the hell has JJ Redick done to deserve the job at the Lakers? I mean, seriously, what has he accomplished that says, you know what, he can lead us to a championship other than he's friends with LeBron? Nothing. The problem with the Lakers, and I'll flat out say it, they should have never fired Frank Vogel. That's the problem with the Lakers. They should have never fired him. They fired him and blamed him for AD and LeBron being hurt and for the team not doing as well because they were hurt. That's why they fired Frank Vogel. It was an idiotic move. Frank Vogel was a good coach. He didn't need to be fired. He was fine. Hell, Darvin Ham was a good coach. AD didn't like him, but Darvin Ham was a good coach. But you got to appease superstars. If JJ Redick gets the head coaching job, it will be a farce, an absolute farce. A guy that you're doing a podcast with and is your buddy, all of a sudden is going to be the head coach. How does he come in? For instance, if I'm Austin Reeves, how does JJ Redick command respect from me? Why would I respect him? I'm not going to respect him. Yeah, he played in the NBA, but he hasn't coached anybody ever. Like anybody ever. Not high school, not college, not pro. No coaching. And I have to respect him. We saw what that looked like in Brooklyn. Steve Nash, a more accomplished basketball player than JJ Redick. We saw what that looked like. They ran over Steve Nash left and right. And guess what? When it was time for somebody to be pushed under the bus, who did Durant and Kyrie Irving push under the bus? Steve Nash. So I'm just saying, people. I'm just saying. I think Dan Hurley would be a good fit. Having said all of that, all the stuff that I said about him, if I'm Dan Hurley, I don't leave. Nope, I don't leave. I would stay. There's something to be said for, you know what? I'm starting a dynasty, and people are going to remember me for how good we are. Maybe I'm not going to make $100 million, but he did sign a 6-year, $32 million deal. That ain't bad. you know? So, I mean, you're making good money. Let me not kid ourselves. You're making outstanding money. You coach college basketball, which that's what I'm assuming he always wanted to do. You're at one of the premier schools in the country. Hell, you flipped it, and now you can be considered a blue blood because you've won 6 titles in the last 25 years. Who the hell's doing that? Good for UConn. Good for him. He's got a chance to three-peat. His team is every single year, they're going to be one of the top teams in the country. If I'm Dan Hurley, I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave. Now, he might. Like I said, he might leave, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So, it just wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me. And Pat Cockrell, I mean, you are a LeBron hater, Pat. Let's be honest, my man. You are, because you have never said anything nice about LeBron. But that's okay. At least you know who you are. But here's the thing about Dan Hurley. He's not going to leave after, if the Lakers can't fire him after 2 or 3 years if Dan Hurley gets the contract that he's going to want to leave UConn. They're not going to fire him after 2 or 3 years, and they still have to pay him $10 million for the next 7 seasons. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. That's why Hurley gets the 10-year deal. They're not going to say, well, we'll just pay him 10. No, they're not. They're not. They're not. So that's not going to happen for the next. And then, even then, let's just say he got fired after 3 years, and then he went and got another head coaching job in college somewhere making, let's say, $5 million. The Lakers still have to pay him $5 million for the next 10 years. They're not going to do that. They're just not. They're not. So, they're just not. So, we'll see. We'll see. But I don't think he should leave. I think it would be a bad move if he left for his career. But the man can coach basketball. I'll give him credit. He knows how to galvanize a team. He knows how to deal with different personalities. We've seen him do it. And if we're not joking, if we're being honest, isn't coaching college right now kind of like the pros? Transfer portals, free agents, meshing all these different personalities, rebuilding a roster every single season. Isn't that what the pros do? So the coaching aspect is kind of the same on how you build a roster. That's why I think Dan Hurley's got to get final say on the roster. That's why I say he's got to get final say. Now, will that happen? I don't know. My man Mo brings up a great point. A great point is that he doesn't believe that Jeannie Buss or Rob Pelinka are going to give up the power, and they may not. But if that's what it is and it keeps you from getting Dan Hurley, then the Lakers are doomed anyway, aren't they? They're doomed anyway because, first of all, Jeannie Buss is not a basketball person. Rob Pelinka is, but we've seen what Rob Pelinka has done. Okay? What he's putting together isn't good enough. And who's making the decision on hiring the head coaches? Is it him? I don't know. So, now my man Joey here says LeBron and Hurley together. LeBron needs to go retire. So, just so we're clear, he has to go retire, and he will have a better chance in the East anyway. But what does that have to do with retire? Come on, man. Come on, man. Be better. Be better. Why are we asking this man that averaged 26, 7, and 7, hey, you got to go retire? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? So, oh, well. Oh, well. Let's move on, people. Let's move on. Like I said, I don't know who's going to get the job, But I laid out the two criteria for me. Dan Hurley, if you can get the contract that you want, the length of the contract, the money will be what it is. Because they're not going to say, hey, 5 years or 10 years, $5 million a year. He ain't going to do that either. He can get that at UConn right now. So he's not going to do that. It's going to have to be significantly more and for a significantly longer period of time. If the Lakers aren't willing to give him the length of the contract and the power that goes with it, Dan Hurley needs to stay his butt right there in UConn and become the dynasty that he is well on his way to becoming. And you know what? If Mike Krzyzewski can turn down the Lakers, Dan Hurley can turn down the Lakers too. That's what I'll say. If Mike Krzyzewski can say no to the Lakers, and if we think that the Lakers are the only team that ever offered Mike Krzyzewski a job, we're lying. He's probably turned down 10 to 15 other NBA opportunities, but the Lakers clearly is the highest profile. If he can say no, then Dan Hurley can say no. I'll leave it at that. Let's move on. So the NBA, talking about expansion. Adam Silver said it's the NBA's number one priority, expanding the league. I don't know that I agree with. Matter of fact, I don't agree with it. I think the NBA has a watered down problem now. Like, look at a team like Charlotte. Charlotte is horrible. Portland is horrible. Detroit, horrible. Now you can say maybe it's bad coaching, organization. They just don't have very good players. And why? Well, I mean, I don't know. You're not drafting well enough? Okay. Nobody's going to go to those places and sign as free agents. That's not happening. No big name guys, so that's not happening. I think they might need to move a team. Like, why is there a team in Charlotte? Like, can somebody explain to me why Charlotte has a team? Because I don't know. I don't think there's any need for there to be an NBA team in Charlotte. You want a team? Just move them to Seattle or Las Vegas. One of the two. What about Orlando? Here's the thing about Orlando. It's like there's not a rabid fan base in Orlando. Orlando gets people to come to the games that are just in town on vacation. So they will go to Orlando game. But here's the thing about that. They get all 18-8 a night is what their average attendance was this year. Now, they were a little better, but they're always middle of the road, getting about 18,000 people to come to their games. Do you think the owner gives a damn whether it's a rabid fan base or not? The turnstiles turn. The green is still money. That's all they care about. The people are going to the game. They're going to the game. That's it. So I think that in itself lets you know. It's like, what are we doing here? Or like New Orleans. I don't even think there needs to be a basketball team in New Orleans. I don't. You could move or Memphis. You could move that team out of Memphis. I wasn't wild on why they moved it. I mean, granted, you needed to get out of Vancouver, but to Memphis? You could move Memphis, New Orleans, Charlotte right this very second. And I don't think anybody would be upset. I know the people in Charlotte wouldn't be upset. They don't care that much. They go to the games every now and then. But that is a college basketball state. So they wouldn't be too upset if Charlotte said, you know what? We're leaving. We're done. We're done. So there's that. I wouldn't mind that at all, actually. I would not mind that at all. If they just packed up and said, we're out of here. New Orleans, the same thing. Definitely Memphis. I wouldn't mind. So, would not mind. But we'll see. We'll see. Charlotte needs the revenue. I mean, I don't think an NBA team or an owner really cares about the revenue that the city needs. Matter of fact, I know for an absolute fact, the owners don't care about the revenue that a city would need. They don't care about that. They care about their revenue. They care about that, But they don't care about the city's revenue. No, they're not worried about that. Not unless they're getting a cut of it. NBA to Pittsburgh, no way, no how. That would not be the move. That would not be. The Pittsburgh is not a big enough city to support 4 franchises. That would not be the play. Las Vegas is the play. And again, Las Vegas would be just like Orlando. They would, but I say that, I don't know. First of all, they would get a ton of fans every week, every game. And a lot of them would be tourists. But you could say the same thing. Look at the hockey team in Las Vegas. They got a rabid fan base. Now, hockey's different than basketball, but they love the Golden Knights in Las Vegas. And they've won, by the way. So you would have a rabid fan base. Plus, you move, let's just say Charlotte moved to Las Vegas. You don't think free agents would line up to try to sign on in Las Vegas? Of course they would. Of course they would. Again, Vegas, great city to live in. No state income tax there. I'm just throwing that out there. 45-minute flight to L.A. I'm just saying. And you could live in Vegas. Not a horrible place to be, people. Not a horrible place to be. I think it would be great. I think it would absolutely be great. But yeah, expansion, I don't agree with. I think it's a terrible idea to expand. I don't think relocating a team, moving a team, I don't think that's I think that would be a great idea with the teams that I mentioned. But expanding the league, no. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand they want to put a team in Seattle. I understand they want to put a team in Las Vegas. But we'll see, man. LeBron wants to own a team. You can't own a team and still play, LeBron. You can't do that. So it's one or the other. Shaq wants to own a team. He doesn't want to partner with nobody else. I'm sorry, Shaq. You don't have that kind of money. You got a ton of money, but you don't have enough money to buy an NBA franchise by yourself. No. Even if you put every single dime that you had into the franchise, you don't have enough. You don't have enough. Which, that's not a bad thing. I mean, what's he worth? $500 million? But the NBA franchises are going for more than that. So, we'll see. I would like to see, I don't know who I would like to see own a team. I mean, I'd like to see LeBron. I'd love to see Shaq own a team. I'd love to see it. But we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But yeah, as far as just doing expansion and expanding the league, I don't like it. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. But we will see what happens, people. So let's move on to Q&A section, man. What do you guys got for me today? There was a good question that my man X Capone asked earlier. He said, what's the last game any sport you went to, Big B? Mavs game. I went to Dallas Mavericks game this year. I mean, NBA basketball is fun to me. And in Dallas, they put on an outstanding show. But that was the last game that I went to this year. So it was about a month or so ago, a couple months ago. Went to a Mavs game. So, could Kansas City support an NBA team? I don't think so, but maybe. Here's the thing about Kansas City is a lot of Kansas City are Kansas fans. But the reason that a lot of those people in Kansas City are Kansas fans is because there's nobody else to root for. So they have just gravitated to KU. If KC had an NBA team, would those people gravitate to it? They might. So, but again, is Kansas City big enough to support 3 professional franchises? Well, you could say they don't support 2 because a lot of people don't go to the Royals now. But if the Royals were any good and they were winning, people would go. And believe it or not, even though people may or may not go, I lived in Kansas City for 11 years, they care about the Royals. And I lived there when the Royals were god-awful. People still cared about the Royals. So it's a good question. Good question. OKC versus Portland. Gotcha. Good game to go to. I think. Portland stinks. Here's something good, my man Joey. Cam Sutton is a great slot corner. Good move. Now his charges basically were dropped. They weren't dropped. They're just misdemeanor charges, so they weren't dropped. And he's still going to get suspended by the league. So they're going to suspend him. It's going to happen. You can't do what he supposedly did and then run from the cops and not get suspended. Come on, man. He ran for if you turn yourself in, maybe he doesn't get suspended. But he ran for the cops for 3 weeks. He's getting suspended. Period. End of story. Now, if he doesn't, great. But I don't see how the NFL can have any type of credibility if you say we're not going to suspend a guy that ran from the cops for 3 weeks. Come on, man. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? So, we'll see. We will see. But the Steelers got better. By the way, people, if you haven't already, make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe to Steelers Almighty. It's also anywhere that you have social media, find Steelers Almighty, and anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Steelers Almighty. Go find it and subscribe today. We are off and running. 7 weeks in on that. Doing well. Got a lot of support. So, do we think the Mavs are going to win game 2? Who wins game 2 on Sunday? Just like I told you all, they're dragging out the NBA Finals. Took them a week to get game 1 in. Now we got 3 days until game 2. Lord have mercy. Who do we think's winning? Who do we got? Do we got the Mavs coming back from a horrible shooting night? Or do we think Boston is just the better team and they win both games at home? I've seen both sides. I think, and like I said, I think it's the Mavs win game 2. They shoot better, and Boston is prone to give you a game at home in the playoffs. They will give you a game at home. So that's how I see it. That's how I see it. Can the Kansas Jayhawks actually win 10 games in football this year? Yeah, they can. I don't know if they will, but they can. I mean, with what they have coming back, if the quarterback stays healthy, if Daniel stays healthy, we've seen their schedule. Their schedule is tailor-made for them to win 10 games. The toughest game on their schedule will be at Kansas State. So I think they could win 10 games. I don't know if they will, but can they? Yeah, they absolutely can. Capone says, my man X Capone says the Mavs the Celtics are going to rest in game 2. I don't know if they'll rest, but you might be right. They'll probably mentally rest. You may be right. You might be right. What do I think of the Debo trade rumors? I mean, for the Steelers, I don't like it. I mean, I'll take it, but if you listen to Steelers Almighty, which I suggest that you do, again, Steelers Almighty is on YouTube and anywhere that you get your podcast. Please subscribe today. But if you listen to that, I broke it down on what the Steelers could do. 4th round pick for Debo. The problem is you're going to have to pay Debo another contract because after this year, he's out of guaranteed money. So he's going to want another deal. Well, that new deal is 3 years, probably $25, $26 million. Do you want to do that for Debo Samuel? A guy that's been hurt a lot, who's had 1 year over 1,000 yards receiving? I don't. And maybe when they come to the bargaining table, maybe they say that, hey, man, we want you, but look, you've had 1 year over 1,000 yards. We're not going to use you as a tailback like San Francisco does. We're not going to use you like that. We need you to be a number 2 receiver. Go get us 1,000 yards. So, but 4th-round pick is all I would give up for Debo. I would absolutely take him, but it can't be for more than that. Just can't be for more than that. Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. So, my man Pat Cockrell. Hot take incoming. Wilson will get the start at the beginning of the year, but has a very short leash. Justin Fields is QB1 by week 6. No way. The reason that I say no way is because I think the Steelers are better. First of all, their first 6 games is the light part of their schedule. And there's a good possibility the Steelers are going to be 6-1 after that. Well, are you going to make a quarterback change if you're 6-1? 5-1? No, you're not. You're not. And I don't care how bad the quarterback is playing. You're not making no change when you're 5-1. That's just not going to. Mike Tomlin's not going to do that, and nor should they do that. They're not going to do that. So, and again, Russell Wilson he had the bad 2022. 2023, he didn't have a bad year. He just didn't, people. 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. They went on a 5-game winning streak where he didn't throw an interception. He had the horrible game against Houston, but other than that, he didn't play horrible. He didn't. People are trying to act like he played terrible. No, he didn't. No, he did. Not to mention his entire organization in the front office and the coaching staff didn't want him there. So there's that. Because you remember, the new ownership didn't sign him to that crazy deal. That was the previous ownership in the previous regime. Okay? Sean Payton didn't sign off on Russell Wilson's contract. He wasn't even in the building yet. He wasn't the head coach yet. They didn't want him anywhere around Denver. And yet, he still played okay. I mean, just think about that. You going to work every day, and the people that own your company and your direct boss doesn't want you there. Ask you to take a pay cut. And when you say no to the pay cut, they tell you, you know what? We're just going to bench you. We're going to take you. We're going to take you off the schedule so you're not going to work. I mean, and he said, okay, whatever. So it's tough working conditions, man. Tough working conditions. North Carolina had an ABA team and it went under. Well, a lot of the ABA teams went under, but I agree with you, Mr. Al Woody. I don't think it's a good idea. Like I said, I never understood why Charlotte had a basketball team. I've never understood that. They love basketball, but they love college basketball. They love college basketball. You're never going to get an NBA big-time free agent to just say, hey, I'm going to Charlotte. That's not happening. It's not happening. It just is what it is. It is what it is. And again, football and basketball are not the same. So you cannot look at football and basketball like they're the same. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake because they are not the same thing. So I've never understood why they're there, but they are. It is what it is. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I think they would, like I said, that would be the first team that I would say, okay, Las Vegas, you want a team? Here's the Charlotte Bobcats. Here's the Charlotte Bobcats. Expansion. I know they're going to expand because that makes more money for the NBA. I just don't think it's a good idea. But expansion is coming. Expansion is coming. So it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, Russ with the right O-line, I think, would go decent. I mean, his O-line in Denver was lacking. Yeah. Well, it won't be lacking in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's O-line is going to be good. It's going to be good. So he won't have a bad offensive line as long as everybody's healthy. Yeah, he's not going to have a bad O-line in Pittsburgh. It's going to be a good offensive line. So good for him. And we'll see what he can do. So we'll see what he can do. But oh well. Oh well. We're going to shut this one down today, people. I appreciate everybody being here, man. Thank you guys again for showing up and showing out like you have. I appreciate it. Again, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Big B Daily is live. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend. It's going to be hot here in the DFW, man. It's going to be hot. If y'all see me on Monday, I might be as black as my shirt because I plan on spending a lot of time outside at the DFW this weekend. I plan on getting out in the sun. Y'all see me? I'm just telling you now. I'm telling you now. When you see me on Monday, blurple will be the word of the day. Blurple. Because I'm going to be so black and purple, you may not be able to tell the difference on what between me and my shirt. That's my goal for this weekend. That is literally my goal. It's going to be hot. I'm going to have a good time. So y'all have a good time too, man. Again, I appreciate everybody. Love you guys. I will holler at you on Monday. Aloha.